Well, hello and welcome to Faith, Philosophy and Life with me, Mr. Shelton. It's great that you're joining me again for another session on what makes life in Britain. Today we are thinking about wants and needs, and we're going to be thinking about the difference between wealth and the way that people deal with wealth and what Christians might think of that as well. Now, behind me is not my living room. I wish that it was, and that, to be honest, is a want. I wish I had a bigger house. I love where I live, but a house like this behind me would just be brilliant. This, however, is an image from an IKEA catalogue because there's no way I could ever afford that. But let's not be talking about my money. What we're thinking about today is the difference, as I say, between wants and needs and wealth. So a want is something that you don't need, but it would be nice. And a need is something that you've got to have in order to survive. Well, that's wants and needs ticked off, so it's not difficult to go from here. This is your time to go and grab your piece of paper and a pen, because here is our cheesy intro music. Okay, so this is our opening thought then. Now you've got your piece of paper and a pen there. Is it fair that some people are rich and some people are poor? Surely everyone should just have what they need and do with it what they enjoy. Okay, so that's our question. Is it fair that some people are rich, some people are poor? Surely everyone should just have what they need and do what they enjoy. So have a think about that now. You don't have to write anything down unless you desperately want to. But I think it's a really important question for you to think about for the moment. Okay, so here's some sort of intro images for you to consider. Which is more expensive? This pair of shoes or feeding a family of 4 3 meals a day for a month? Okay, these shoes or feeding a family of 4 for 3 meals a day for a month? Okay, the answer is in fact the shoes. The shoes are £600. On average, feeding a family of 4 for 3 meals a day, not top quality by a long stretch, would be £500. If, however, you were really going to splash out, then obviously you could spend a lot more on that. But the shoes technically are more expensive than the average shop. Okay, the second one then, which is more expensive? A life support machine or a half-hour interview with Wayne? Okay, which is more expensive? A life support machine or a half-hour interview with Wayne? Okay, a little bit of a trick question that, because there's lots of different types of life support machines. So Wayne Rooney costs £26,000 for half an hour interview with him. 26k, can you imagine? A life support machine, the cheapest ones are 25k, 25,000. So actually at that point Wayne would be more expensive, but the towards the top end, £60,000. Now there are some that are a lot more than that, which are on the market, but there you are. So there are prices for that. Let's have a look at this one. Is it a take that ticket at sales price, not at reselling price on some of those reselling sites that we don't talk about? And I know you might not know who Take That is, or they wouldn't be doing gigs anyway. But let's imagine that they were in normal times. What cost would a Take That ticket be? And clean water for an African village for a whole week. Okay, so a ticket to Take That would generally cost between £50 to £100. Clean water for an African village for a week is only £30. Okay, so Take That is more expensive than providing fresh and clean water for an African village for a week. And then finally, what is more expensive? Is it the cost of immunising 10 children in the developing world against diseases that could kill them? Is it the iPhone 11 Pro Max? I have a feeling that you'll probably know that one. But do you know what the prices are for them? Okay, so it generally costs about £25 per person to immunise them, so that would be 250 quid. An iPhone Pro Max, £1,149 on pay-as-you-go. £1,149. That is just astronomical. That's why I don't have an iPhone 11 Pro Max. So, moving on. So, this is our title for you to get written down. How should people use their money? How should people use their money? And our literacy objective is to explore Christian attitudes towards the use of wealth. Okay, Christian attitudes towards the use of wealth. As normal, pause me as we go. So it's going to be a good outcome if you can give 2 Christian beliefs about money. It's going to be great if you can give 2 Christian beliefs about money and back them up with relevant Bible quotes or stories, and even better if you can give 2 Christian views about money and back them up with relevant Bible quotes and stories, and use this knowledge to successfully answer an exam question or a reflection question. So our literacy skill is speaking and listening. Okay, you're going to be listening to me. Hopefully you're going to be talking to some people as we go through with WhatsApp or chatting to your family. So self-managers, because ultimately it's down to you to get this job done, and we're thinking about our Christian value of justice, because ultimately what is right and what is fair flows through everything we are looking at. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to make a little mind map with the word wealth in the middle of it, and I'd like you to write down what you already know about that word and what do you think Christians think about that word. Okay, so what do you already know about that word and what do you think Christians think about that word? Pause me now while you do that. Okay, so behind me then are some images with regards to wealth. I'd like you to look at those now and see if you can add any more information around your mind map around what you think wealth is, if any of these inspire you. Okay, now you might say, some of this is like wealth. What's plants to do with wealth? Or that's actually a money tree. But, well, the idea when it comes to wealth is that wealth is more than just money and possessions. Wealth is about the way that you live. So if you live in an area that's got lots of beauty, you're more than happier. You're more likely to be happier, and therefore wealth is holistic. You could have lots and lots of paintings. Now, I don't know why you'd have lots and lots of paintings. Some people are paint collectors and they're very wealthy, but they might not have as much money in the bank. So there's lots of things that would make you wealthy. Behind me are just different examples of things that might make you wealthy. So let's move on for a moment. So what we've done is we've said it'd be good if you give 2 different Christian beliefs about money. Well, we haven't done that yet, and we've not done the Bible quotes yet, and that's what we're going to move on to now. Using the description below, I would like you now please to access this grid. Okay, now you can type on this grid or you can just print it off and write on it. That's what I would do if it was me. And you will see on this grid that it's broken into 4 sections. And the reason why it's broken into 4 sections is I'm going to go through 4 bits of information with you in a moment. And you need to take the appropriate information and apply it to your grid, shrinking it down because it won't all fit. And then there's a grey box linked to each one where you summarise or answer that question really shortly. Okay, so you're not spending a huge amount of time on this. So you're going to be extracting information and put it in. Now make it clear that I've used the word some on a lot of this, because some Roman Catholics might think something, some Church of England Christians might think something else. They're all the same faith. I always have to keep saying that because they all believe in Jesus. They all have very similar beliefs. However, there are some slightly different practices when it comes to the way that Christians worship and believe. So this is our first bit of information. So hopefully you've got that sheet loaded up here. There you go. If you don't have a printer, then you could just write the key bits out as we go anyway. So just make a note from that slide. Pause this now while you get the information that you need. Okay, so this is information slide number 1. Pause this and then extract what you need. This is information slide number 2, so pause this and extract what you need. This is information slide number 3, so pause this and extract what you need. This is information slide number 4, so extract this and take what you need. Okay, so hopefully now you have completed that sheet. We're going to move on. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go through a number of stories from the Bible. You're going to choose one of them. I'd like you to create a storyboard or a comic strip about this story. Now, this is what the Bible teaches about wealth or about money. So again, I'm going to put those on the screen, pause them, read them over, and then choose one. I will go through them twice with you. Then you'll be able to create a storyboard or a comic strip about those. So here is our first story. I'll read it to you. Jesus saw a lot of people put their coins into the treasury. They were putting into a lot of money, which was nothing compared by the riches they owned. They were bragging about it, and then came along a poor widow who put 2 coins in, worth only about 1p. It was everything she owned. And Jesus said, "Look at this poor woman has put in more than all of you. For you have put in your spare change, but she is in poverty and put in all that she has." Okay, so that's called the poor widow. The second one, the sheep and the goats. Jesus told the people that God will judge you all and divide you into sheep and goats. The sheep are those who said, "When I was hungry, you gave me food. When I was thirsty, you gave me drink. And when I was naked, you clothed me. If you do this for others, then you do this for me." That's what Jesus said to the sheep. And Jesus then said to the goats, "Go away. You didn't feed me, clothe me, or help me. You did not help those in need. You rejected me, and God will reject you. And the good, the useful, the helpful will go to heaven." So he's obviously not making people into sheep and goats. It's an allegory. It's a story to try and show that God expects people to help those that are in help, because if you help those people, you are in fact helping God. Okay, so if you are helping those people, you are in fact helping God. Okay, and they would make you the sheep. Okay, the next one's then the rich young man. Rich man says to Jesus, "How will I get to heaven?" And Jesus said, "Follow the 10 commandments." And he says, "Master, I've done all these things." So Jesus said to him, "Go sell all your possessions and give your money to the poor, and then come and follow me." And when the rich man heard this, he was sad and went away. And Jesus said, "How hard it is for a rich person to enter heaven. It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle." Now, there's lots of understanding about what eye of a needle is. It could have been a gate in Jerusalem. That's what some people think. Or Jesus could, in fact, be talking about an eye of a needle. You know, the little tiny bit that you put the thread through. Really hard to do, basically almost impossible. So, that is the rich young man. And then finally, Lazarus and the rich man, different rich man. There was a rich man who had all the wealth in the world. Outside of his house was a beggar named Lazarus who would be grateful for crumbs of food dropped by others. One day Lazarus and the rich man died. Lazarus was carried to heaven, whilst the rich man was taken to hell. The rich man said, "What have I done wrong?" And the response was, "Well, you've had all the good things and you didn't share, whilst Lazarus suffered. You did not listen to the word of God." He begged that someone would go and warn his brothers of their fate, but the answer was, they have all the teachings in front of them. Okay, massive summaries down. That's not to say, can I make it very clear that rich people don't get to heaven. This is to do with attitude. And rich people might not think that they need to believe in Jesus, hence why they don't get to heaven. Whereas poor people might realise they need to know Jesus more. So I'm going to put those stories back up once more. You're going to choose one of them, and then you are going to create a comic book or a storyboard based on this. So there's the poor widow. Sheep and goats. Rich young man. And Lazarus and the rich man. So our outcomes then would be good if we could give 2 Christian beliefs about money. Hopefully we've nailed that now. Great if you can give at least 2 Christian views about money and back them up with relevant Bible stories. Again, hopefully we've done that. And we're now going to go on to our reflection question. So this is the big one, the one that you get to show off your knowledge and understanding and evaluation skills. AQA are helpful that they give you a suggested structure. Remember, you only have 12 minutes to give this a go. I would use FARM, for, against, rebuttal, and my opinion. And for and against and rebuttal, I'd certainly be using point, evidence, explanation, and link. Remember though, for the my opinion, your opinion isn't your own opinion. It's the argument that you think is the strongest in your opinion of the ones already given. Also try and use at least one quote from the for and against paragraphs. That's evidence to support your arguments. It could be that an act teaches that and a quote, or the Bible teaches that and a quote, depending if you're doing Judaism or Christianity. Remember to try and use denominational differences if you're able to, and use a quote which is explained fully. Try and do that, as I said, for and against and rebuttal. So give yourself a go now and give yourself 12 minutes to do it, and then come back to me. So pause me now. Okay, so let's just see how this is marked. To get 0 marks, you basically don't answer the question. You may have left it blank, or maybe not answered it correctly at all. So let's assume that you've got more than 0. To gain 1, 2 or 3 marks, you've just got to got one point of view, maybe just an agree or disagree. To be gaining more than that, you could do with mentioning religion, but it's not essential at the next band. So to gain 4 or 5 or 6 marks, it needs to be a reasoned point of view, both for and against. You can get away, as I say, without any religion at this point, but it'll be best practice for you to include some. To get 7 to 9 marks, you must reference religion. So depending on your paper, if it's Judaism, then talk about Reform or Orthodox Jews if you can, or if it's Christianity, talk about Church of England, Roman Catholic, United Reformed Church or Quakers. Obviously, it's going to help push your mark forward the more specific you can be, but you could just be general if you need to. You should also try and be using for and against at this point, and it needs clear reference to religion within this. So maybe use some evidence as well. That's the quote we spoke about earlier. So that will gain you between 7 and 9 marks. To get you 10 to 12 marks, it needs to be a well-argued response. The board say it needs to be a reasoned consideration of different points of view, logical change of judgments. So that's basically a point, evidence, explanation, link, paragraph for 4, and against, and a rebuttal, that's a third point of view, and then your opinion, which is some sort of conclusion showing evaluation of the points already stated rather than what you think. It needs to have religion throughout it and quotes as well. So what I'd like you to do now is give yourself a mark out of 12 and set yourself a target of how to improve. So pause me now while you do that. Okay, so now I want you to go back to the word wealth that you did at the start of the lesson, and again write down anything that you've now learnt about wealth or about money or about Christians' teachings about wealth and money during this lesson. Hopefully now you've got a lot more information around your mind map. So pause me and get that done. Excellent. So that brings us to the end of our lesson, which is to explore Christian attitudes towards the use of wealth. We've covered an awful lot today, and obviously money is a massive thing in the world around us. So I will leave it there for this week. Thank you very much for your time. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Wash hands. God bless. And I'll see you soon.